Hey, welcome everybody to Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. I know the guest I've got, you guys have heard me talking about this organization a lot. They've given me a hand with the radio station, so I know you're going to be familiar with them. So let's get through the ad for Gun Room Radio, and then we'll bring on Guy. Come listen to the best music in Gun Room Radio. All of the artists that are performing are within the military family. Their songs are authentic, and the music and the camaraderie is amazing. So I want you to come and listen. Have a great time. Check us out at gunroomradio.airtime.pro or on Facebook at Gunroom Radio. Hey, all right. I've been looking forward to this show for quite some time, and it's finally came to fruition. So let me bring on Guy from Operation Encore, and let's get into it. Hey, what's going
Hey,
on, Guy?
hey, fine. How are you doing, Donald?
Man, I am doing awesome, brother. If it was any better, it'd probably be illegal.
Good, good. So I was asking you earlier, since this is two drunk dudes, we are supposed to drink, right?
Yeah, that is definitely a good option to take.
I always want to follow the rules. So if that's the rule, I mean, it's this is your house. If we're supposed to drink, I will drink.
That's
It's
it.
Friday.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. You know, I got big things going on tomorrow too with the radio station, so it'll be a good weekend to celebrate.
What do you got going?
Tomorrow, Tim Newton got invited to a fundraiser for a family that has a 9-year-old girl that got cancer, and so they're putting together a little concert, a car show, and with the local car club there, and I'm gonna go down there and live stream it for them. So this will be the first radio station's live stream. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing Veteran Hour from down there as well. So
You're getting quite technical on us here.
I'm well. Let's let the jury decide after tomorrow.
You're gonna have to get one of those vans, like local news with a satellite dish, and like some Scooby Doo van or Ghostbusters van or something like that, and be like cruising all around the Midwest, live streaming shit all over the place.
Yeah, man. So, well, go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself and give them a background, and then we'll get into the organization, man.
Well, so if we had, Shannon Book or some other people here who know me, they would tell you I don't like to talk about myself. So this may be short, but anyway, so I'm on the board of Operation Encore. It's the most fun thing I get to do these days is working with these veteran singer songwriters, very talented musicians, artists. I have to disclose up front to everyone, I am not a veteran. I did not serve in any military branch. I'm the one non-veteran member of our board, so I describe myself as our diversity candidate. Um, but I come from a business background. I retired from a corporate life, and so I have the time and money to pursue what I want to pursue, and this is one of the great things I get to pursue.
Yeah,
What can I
man.
tell you about myself? I don't know. What do you want to know?
So was your business background in the music industry back then too, or was this a new adventure for you?
This is a new adventure. Well, somewhat new adventure. I started playing guitar at age 15, and like a lot of people, played in college bands and did that sort of stuff. And then got off on a corporate career and didn't do much with it for 30 plus years. Um, and wasn't until I retired I started, really songwriting and started a little. I'm almost embarrassed to call it a music label, Buckeye Road Music, which really just I publish my own stuff mostly, um, and started getting into that sort
Hmm.
of after corporate life, and then probably 3-4 years after I retired, was introduced to some of the Operation Encore people, and it just it just seemed like such a great idea. And for me personally, it did combine, music and support for our military and for our veterans.
Yeah.
Um, and I, just jumped in. I was like, a fish in water. So it was great. It's been great.
Yeah, man. I actually found out about you guys through Scotty when he came on my show. That's how I discovered Operation Encore and Guitars for Vets. Both of them. I didn't know anything about either one of them, and until him. So he was the gatekeeper at that time.
Yeah, I mean, Scotty's great. You obviously know you've spent some time with him. He came into Operation Encore probably 3 years ago or so, and he's shooting lights out there in Nashville. I mean, he's a hard working guy. I mean, you
Yeah.
see him 6 nights or days a week down there on Broadway doing 3 4 hour sets, and banging his guitar with his velcroed pick on his thumb, and just but it's just reps. It's
Yeah.
just reps, and he's making strides with Black River Music, and Doug Johnson, who's a great guy there at Black River, just an old pro around the industry. He's been mentoring him and helping him out and producing some of his stuff. And the boy's going to make it. I mean, he's going to. I mean, we're going to look back at all this a couple years from now when he's doing stadium tours and go, damn,
Yeah.
we knew that boy when he was playing for tips.
Yeah. Yeah, man. We've said that on this show quite a bit about a lot of these artists. I get it all the time that people are like, man, how come we've never heard of these people? And I just tell them, man, it's there hasn't been anybody really dedicated to veterans to put them out there. And then you add the luck of the draw of when you're listening to certain stations or whatever, and you go to Spotify and people get buried in the algorithm. So I mean, it's hard to find them unless you're out there searching, so
So
yeah.
I'm gonna turn the mirror around on you, boys, because I mean you started Gunroom Radio, and we were talking about this only 4 6 months ago.
Yeah.
By way of, I mean, background. I mean, I for a couple of years have been trying to get someone to run with the idea of having an all veteran music hour, because it just seemed like a natural. I mean, the now 28 artists we work with, I know they're talented. I know
Yeah.
many of them are as talented as some of the BS you listen to on radio. Um, and I know from when we do the live shows, there are passionate audiences and people who want to lean in and listen to this music. And so I've been shopping around the idea for a while that the world needs at least a veteran music hour. I mean, like if it was on iHeartRadio or you put it on Sirius, whatever,
Yeah.
2 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday. I kept pitching it. Like, people will dial in, and the story that just like crystallized it. We had a gig up in Boise, Idaho, kind of a save the farms, the local farm thing, and Scotty and Shannon, we put both of them up there, and we put them on stage in front of a bunch of farmers. I mean, it's like a natural. Wasn't a big crowd, but it was a fun gig, and those two guys together are like hilarious. Anyway, afterwards I took them to a steakhouse kind of down the road, a block and a half, and this is in Caldwell, Idaho, outside of Boise, farm town. And we're sitting down, and this guy comes walking up, and he says, "Are you guys the veterans who were singing on there?" And they go, "Yes, sir." And he just gives them all the thank you for your service and all that stuff. And then just like the waitress comes up and he just rolls out $200 and gives it to the waitress and goes, "Whatever these boys want to eat, on me," and just thanks him and walks away. Now, probably you may or may not know, neither of them drink. So, and this is Boise, Idaho. So a steak is like $28, you know? And so they were having a hard time spending $200. So I think the waitress got $100 tip that night. But the point of the story is I'd been pitching this idea of a veteran radio thing, and you ran with it, man. You just got it done. I mean, like within what was it, like a couple 3 weeks after we talked,
Yeah.
you're like, I'm launching Gunroom Radio. I was like, damn, man, you move fast. And
Yeah.
it's getting better, and you're getting better artists, and I'm discovering artists on it that people I didn't know. And I listen to it, I stream it, it's great. So anyway,
Yeah.
to you,
Yeah.
man.
I love it too, man. It's been a lot of fun. I've met a lot of cool people. I still got a lot of ideas and a lot of stuff to to get done. We're still working to get that second licensing so we can legally play at a lot of these artists that are with ASCAP. So, but because there's a lot more artists out there. It seemed like, when I did a quick like analysis. The first person I asked I asked Scotty. He's like, who are you with? And so he's like, I'm with BMI, and I was like, okay. And I started asking a few others, and it seemed like it was 50-50. So that we went with BMI first, and here hopefully in the next month we'll have ASCAP, and at that point, man, I think there'll be a lot of artists on there. I'm even trying to bring in now some veteran comedians that are out there, and add them to give them their own little couple hours once a week or whatever to have their little
Well done.
comedy
So
show.
just so people out there listening know, so you're running it like a real radio station where you're doing all the legal traps. So the artists,
Yep.
they own their music, whatever publishing rights they do. You're paying royalty to
Yep.
them, just like a big boy radio station.
Yep. So with BMI, the way it works, they get 1.7% of my gross income. They get $432 a year for being with them, and then for each song that I play, it's 0.002 and a whole bunch of numbers after that. So it's not even a penny per song that goes. The artists get some of that 1.7%. I think it's like 60 or 70% of that goes to the artist, plus the royalty fee, which is less than a penny. So, yep.
Yeah, but Spotify's less than a penny too. So nothing.
Yeah.
No, but the point is, you got them on radio, and you will build a listener base, and you'll get sponsorship, and you're going to get a whole bunch more artists, and figure out there's a whole bunch more music out there, and it's great. I think this thing will have legs.
Yeah, the stats are even getting better, and now I'm not even working as hard to find artists. There's people that are finding me, and I had a band from Germany. I had to explain that we weren't quite for them, but they were pretty good. I didn't understand what they were saying, but yeah, they were pretty good.
Were they military, or they were just a band?
No, they were just German citizens. Discovered us on the old face web, I guess.
That is so cool. Yeah, it is amazing what the internet does. I was telling you, I have some of my own music on Spotify and all that. I'll get the stats. I'll check it every once in a while, and it'll be like, why did 50 guys in Ganesh, India, or wherever it was, like listen to this one song?
Yeah.
Like why did that go viral last month? Viral, 50 guys, but still, I've never been there.
Eric's asking what the cost for the license is for ASCAP. The last time I reached out to him a year, it was actually cheaper than BMI. It was $308 a year, but until I'm actually ready to pay that, I haven't gotten into what all the contract details is. I assume it'll be similar because BMI and ASCAP are really close working together, but it was $308, and I'm sure there's going to be a percentage of my gross income that goes to them too, as well as royalties to the artist as well. So I assume it will be similar, but the upfront cost is $308.
So if people out there want to help you build this, are you a 501c3, or you have a donate button, or how does that work?
So currently what I'm doing is I'm trading basically donations for advertisements. So if somebody wanted to advertise, I just let them pick how much they want to pay, and then I subtract so much from every download from my podcast, and $5 a day or so for being on the radio station is what I've been doing. We've got a couple fundraisers out there. I wasn't a big fan of merch stores because it takes a lot of time to put them together, and I just didn't have that time. But I finally threw a quick merch store together to try to help, and I haven't announced it yet, but I did partner with a local meadery here, and we are putting together some dedicated ale that was made from the 16th century, as well as some mead. The mead is going to be called 13th Warrior, and The ale is called I want to say it was called the Viking Prayer or something like that. I can't remember what we actually called it, but we were just waiting for the alcohol tobacco people to approve the labels, and the August the mead will be ready and the ale's already ready. So we're just waiting on the ATF for them.
Very cool. And so I know I'm interviewing you now, but so if somebody wanted to be a sponsor for you, like what do you charge for a sponsorship? Somebody wanted to be an official Gunroom Radio sponsor.
You know, I'll be honest, man. I never even really actually thought about it because the whole time I've been doing the show, I haven't really reached out for sponsors or even to look to see what people would be paying to do it.
But we're live, and if you want to do it, like what would you want? Come on, you got to ask. You got to ask. You never
Um,
get it if you don't ask.
I don't know. I would probably want enough to get the licensing and some better audio stuff than what I'm working with. So, I probably somewhere in 500-600 bucks, something like that. I'll be honest, when I sat down and I looked at this, so when I put the gunroom radio together, I know I'm kind of backing up here, but when I first came to you, I was naive as hell. I didn't know anything, and I reached out to you because I was just trying to find people that would be willing to give me music to play that came from veterans. And
Yeah, we have a
um,
shitload. You can play it all.
yeah, and I didn't know about all this red tape until I got with you and you started talking about royalties and stuff like that, and I started doing and I was kind of on the fence of just saying, man, because I didn't want a business, and that's what it was looking like it was going to have to turn into to get it done. And so, the only thing that kept me going was remembering you saying that there wasn't anybody out there to um, yeah, that would definitely cover it there, Eric. That would definitely cover it. Um, but
So wait a minute, did you just get that donation, or he's
no,
just bullshitting you?
I think he's just saying $1,500 donation, and to not have to worry. He was telling me what to say is what I think he was saying.
No, wait a minute. I want to see if he's actually donating this. We got to dig down here. So come on, type your little fingers. Are you donating this, or are you just putting that out there?
He
Oh,
says I'm helping him.
all right, okay.
But I remember you saying that nobody would even donate an hour. So I decided to move forward with doing this. And I kind of sat down and looked at um, going through the contracting about how much money I wanted Gunroom Radio to make a year, um, because I didn't want it to be a profitable business, especially because I'm just giving everything I'm making is going to go to BMI, but I wanted the ability to be able to play the music. So I figured if the company made between 3 and 4 thousand a year, that would cover all their fees and the royalties, you know. Um, so that's where I kind of set my goals at, was to kind of hopefully get this into that range, because I knew that would cover, the $39.95 a month for um, the uh, the broadcasting and all the little editing stuff that I've gotten, and any equipment and so forth. Well, then talking with Jason and everything else, I have decided come next year I'm going to apply and make it a 501c. So
Okay.
um, that is what the plan is moving forward, is next year to go and apply. It's I think me and Jason was talking, it's going to be somewhere around $1,800, something like that, to have a lawyer help me with it. And at that point it'll be better, because everything that I'm doing, I want it to stay. I don't want somebody profiting from this. I have two full-time jobs. I don't need the money for myself. Um, what I do need is some more people that would be willing to DJ, because the direction that I want this to go in
Hmm.
is I want to get it to where Gunroom Radio is going out and live streaming these guys' events. I would like for it to be for us to have the equipment to go out there and it to look good, look professional for any of the bigger events that they're doing. So I kind of want to strategically place where we have DJs in regards to kind of where people tend to go and play music. And that was another reason with partnering with Hero Stock, with what they get into. I would like to be able to go to their events and live stream it as well. So I just felt like that was the direction that we needed to go to help them out even more, draw more listeners, because that will put us face to face with fans that can learn about Gunroom Radio as well, and people get to see more of the concerts that can't make it to the events.
Man, you're gonna have a third full-time job. I can see this coming. I can just see this coming. I know how this works. You're gonna have a third full-time job.
I loved my podcast, but man, since he said Miller's Mobile, their sponsor, Miller's Mobile Tax, can help. You are right. Will he drive to Missouri? He's in California. So, but, I love it, man. I love the podcast. I love talking to people like yourself and learning about their organizations and, hearing the stories from different veterans, So I've listened to some of the funniest stories, like with Shannon Book. And man, we talked for, I think, 45 minutes. And then he had to remind me, he's like, hey, you might want to hit record. We hadn't even started the show yet, man. It was awesome. JB Brown, all of them, and then when I learned, I didn't even know what van life was until I met Barbara Sim,
Yeah, she's still up in Alaska. We got to figure out how to get her home.
Yeah. I've seen her taking some pictures and hanging with some friends, she said.
Yeah. Well, yeah. For those on the podcast, watching to know, but Otz Kilcher, who is another great guy, Vietnam vet, happens to be Jules' father, but also, the patriarch of the Kilcher family that's, 10, 11 seasons on the Discovery Channel, Alaska, the Last Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, he did some work with us at Operation Encore, did a couple different events with us. And then his dream was to start this Heroes Healing Homestead. He has some homestead land up in Homer, and he wants to build a retreat for, veterans to come up, healing, nature, music, kind of a thing. And so we did a pilot program up there just a couple of weeks ago. We sent 8 of our artists up there. He put the whole thing together. We just sort of shipped our artists up there, and they had a blast.
Yeah, I love the pictures.
It was Shannon, it was JB, it was Barbara Sim, people Brandon Mills, Andrew Wiscombe, Stephen Covell, and Schaefer Mueller. I'm going to forget someone, Rachel Hill, but just a great group. But the funny part of the story is, you mentioned Barbara, and we flew the artists up there and said, okay, we'll support the event that way. We'll pay your airfare. Well, so Barbara's sitting there at Nashville, and she says, well, I want to drive. I'm like, and normally when, like, if we have artists that rather than fly, it's a short drive. They drive to an event, it's 3 hours. I'm just gonna drive my car. We pay them mileage at the statutory or the government rate of 62.5 cents a mile. So I do a quick, MapQuest kind of thing. I'm like, crap, that's a lot of miles. So I said, Barbara, we'll pay equivalent of airfare. We're not gonna pay you mileage. Anyway, so we paid her, half to get up there. I said, we're not going to pay you the other half, and until you're up there, and you need to come back down. So I'm waiting to see if she actually makes it down.
But she's got according to her, she's got some stuff booked on her way back to what is it, South Carolina? I think she is where.
I think that's where her family's. Yeah. Actually, coincidentally, I was on not a podcast. I was on a Zoom call with Otz today, debriefing on the Heroes thing, and she's up there. She's I guess Otz's sister has a little like RV park, and she's camped out in Otz's sister's RV park and doing gardening and stuff, and playing gigs around Homer, and making gas money, and we'll get her home somehow,
and getting experience,
and doing her trade, playing, getting reps, playing gigs. It's great.
I love it, man. When she first told me that, I asked her, I said, man, do you got a gun? Yeah. And she said, I do. And she said, but that creates another problem. She said, I'm trying to figure out what do I do with it when I go into Canada? I said, oh, that's a good question.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. I've never asked the question again, so I don't know what she did.
Don't ask that question again because she's got to get home.
Yeah.
Don't.
I think she was talking about because me and her talked about having an FFL send it back to somebody at home or something like that. Is what
Yeah,
me and her was talking about. But
you and I probably both have the same sort of fatherly instincts. He's like, "This is really cool. You're driving around a van." I mean, by the way, she's a Marine. She built the van out herself. Went
yeah,
down
she
to Home
did.
Depot and bought cabinets and stuff. I mean, so she's not a sissy girl. But
Nope.
I was like, you're at these campgrounds, and sometimes she just camps by a lake somewhere. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I asked the same question. Do you have a gun? She's like, yeah, I sleep with it pretty close.
Yeah. I owned a trucking company before I moved here to Missouri, and I did that for 6 years. So I've seen what the roads are like. There's a lot of shady stuff out there.
Yeah.
But so
Anyway,
let me ask you this. So just for the people that may not know, let's talk about Operation Encore. What is it that you guys actually do?
okay. So we're a nonprofit. Um, Mission statement. We have a couple legs on the stool, if you will. Primary one is to help active duty, veteran, and military spouse singer songwriters with their professional music careers. Okay. Um, the second mission statement of ours is to try to help bridge the communication gap through music that sometimes exists between the veteran community that the 1 or 2% that serve and the 98, 99% who don't, and sometimes the perceptions of who veterans are can get skewed. And there are a number of people out there who sort of look at veterans as either sort of the fat tails of the distribution curve. They either think they're all neo-Nazi gun-toting crazy guys or meth-addled homeless vets, and
Yeah.
not that there aren't some at those end of the curves, but as you know, there's a lot just kind of in the middle of normal people.
Yeah.
So we try to bring that message. We try to distinguish that we're not a music therapy organization. There are other organizations that do that. I think they probably do it pretty well. Um, we're not qualified. I'm certainly not qualified to be a therapist, but you know, um, so we don't do that. On the other hand, music is therapeutic, and a lot of the men and women, I may use, as we talk, the term guys. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but a lot of the guys who we work with use music for healing. It just happens to be really good art, we think.
Yeah.
Um, and our artists do form a bit of a community. That's an overused word, but maybe it's a tribe. But they support each other. They watch each other's back. They follow each other, even if they're in different cities and towns. Or
Yeah.
like Brandon Mills in Nashville. He wanted to go do a bunch of gigs in in Austin. Contact Scotty. Scotty's like, I'll hook you up. Here's names of 4 talent bookers. We'll get you a bunch of gigs. Okay, great. Go to Austin. Um, the other thing, not divulge anybody's privacy, but I'd probably say at least a third of our artists have come pretty close to suicide. Some of them write about it in their songs.
Yeah.
So we just have to be conscious that it's there.
Yeah.
It is in the veteran community. Anyway, so that's kind of what we try to do. How do we do it? With respect to their professional music careers, I look at our sort of business model, if you will, as we're like the venture capital to their music careers. Although we have a terrible business model because we don't get any return. We're nonprofits; we just give them the money. But if you think about it, if a couple smart guys had a great idea, they maybe have a PowerPoint presentation, they want to start a business. They're kind of in the garage messing around, but they need a little bit of money. That first bunch of sort of friends and family and first round that helps them get a prototype, helps them get something out in the market, helps them get them a little bit of marketing, get some market feedback, get some momentum to where they can get the next round. And so we're that first bunch of capital. We're not American Idol. We're not going to take them public. We're not going to make them a
Right.
star. We don't have those connections really. But we're going to try to get them into a position where they can get discovered and can get sort of next level. So what do? When we bring an artist in, we'll try to get them at least a couple, 3 professionally recorded songs, or more songs if they already have some. Maybe not total Nashville quality, but on a budget, we'll get them 95% there. With real session musicians, if they don't have it, even if they have a band, probably we're going to get them in with session musicians. Make sure it's out there, and on Spotify, on all the streaming channels. But they've got that. We book them gigs and festivals and stuff like that. We'll pay travel to get them there, to have those opportunities. Try to get it videoed. Build out an electronic press kit for them, so they have a way that we can market them, and that they can market themselves if they don't already have that up, but they can look like a professional. We've done a few music videos for some songs that we really felt needed, the world needed to see. So Stephen Covell's Her Cold Hands, and Shannon's Dear Mom, we funded those videos that
Yeah.
just like, the world's got to, we got to get this out. So we've done that. I happen to co-host a podcast series we do. We interview artists and, attach that. Sometimes we'll help with their marketing expenses, and just generally try to get them those couple moves ahead. And, I mean, it's tough, as a struggling musician, even if you're
It is.
retired or medically retired. So, a few $1,000 to, get into a studio and get yourself, sort of in the, get your line in the water, maybe you
Yeah.
catch a fish, maybe not. It's a tough business. It's a really tough business.
Yeah.
But you don't know if you don't, take your shot. And our attitude is, all of our artists have spent a portion of their younger years, whether it's 4 or 20, serving their country,
Yep.
and probably not pursuing a music career at all, or to the extent that they certainly could or would want to. And they just deserve that chance to pursue their dream.
Yeah.
They may fall flat on their face. Again, it's tough business. I should also point out, when we say we're trying to support their professional music careers, definition of professional, again, it's kind of a spectrum. For some, I'll say they have real jobs, they have a family, wife and kids or husband, whatever. And their goals and their ideas, they want to write their music, they want to go play on stage. They may play a couple, 3, 4 times a month, somewhat locally, someplace they can drive to, go play in a bar, put in some of their own original music, play some covers, come back home, sleep at home, go to work on Monday. That's great. We will support that. We have other ones who, JB plays 200, 250 sets a year. Mike Ponder probably plays that. Scotty, I think, plays that. They're committed. I mean, they're all in. That's what they do. That's their job. And they're a lot more active. I mean, anytime we have a potential gig, we call them up like, hey, you want to get on a plane, go to Phoenix, Arizona to, play this fundraiser for 22 Jumps, which, by the way, is another great nonprofit. They're just like, yeah, let's go. It's my job. If you pay the airfare, I'll go play. Sure, let's go do it.
Yeah, man.
So that's a bunch of stuff we do. We have no paid staff. Zero paid staff, so the all volunteer board does all the work. So like you're kind of talking about your thing. I mean, scaling that sort of a business is tougher. We can't take on all the artists we would like to, which is, by the way, is why I think Gunroom Radio is great. I mean, we'll get 40 or 50 applications a year, and we might be able to take on 2 or 3, at max 5 new artists a year.
Yeah.
So we're disappointing a lot of people, and some of them are really talented. We just don't have the capacity.
Yeah.
You know, to really take someone on and you know, try to do all of that. So so if there's anybody out there who, you know, did apply to Operation Encore and you didn't get in, um, sorry. You know, we're just trying to do what we can do and do it one veteran at a time. Um, but get your music on Gunroom Radio. I mean, you
Yep.
know,
Yep.
actually,
The Joe Allen
go ahead.
Christie, he is on Gunroom Radio. He's had two, maybe three songs that's made our top 20 a couple times. But yeah.
I know, and he did apply and didn't get in this year. But you know, I liked his music. And as you know, as a matter of fact, I think I did reach out to him. But Camp Southern Ground, which is, you know, Zach Brown's nonprofit,
Hmm.
is doing. We did a pilot program last year called Warrior Song, where we brought in 16 of our artists to a 4-day music industry boot camp on Zach Brown's 400-acre horse ranch. I mean, how cool is that? And we
Yeah.
brought in, you know, we brought in a bunch of A-list Nashville Hall of Fame writers and social media marketing and vocal coaches and all this stuff, and just went through the profession of being a musician. Again, not music therapy, not beginning songwriting, but okay, you know, you're at this level. How do you get to this level?
Yeah.
Um, and it was so cool. We're doing it again this year and opening it up to other applicants. So Joel and Christie or Jen Ford or some of these other ones who, you know, who are not in Operation Encore but on your platform, you know, reach out. I'll give you the. I mean, I know that Jen already applied. I think she's been notified that she's been accepted, and so she'll, you know, she'll be on Zach's Ranch in November.
Yeah.
Um,
That is
um,
awesome.
yeah, you know, and again, so we try to do what we can do. Um, you know, it's interesting. We were, you know, talking about your organization and scaling it. It's it's interesting. I come from a, you know, business background and have built businesses and platforms in 15 different countries before I retired. But it's interesting on how you scale and what resources you need, and you reach inflection points in
Yeah.
organizational growth. And for us, it's you know, when do you go from being an all volunteer passion project, doing what you can do, to okay, I want to basically bring in paid staff, and that's a whole different business.
Yeah.
Um, I want to say less personal, but just the, you know, the math of it. I mean, um, to be a nonprofit, to be a responsible nonprofit, I think you should have no more than 20% of your revenues be to overhead, with
Hmm.
80% going to benefits of the vets, if you will.
Yeah.
I think we run about 5% because again we have no staff.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, you bring in sort of a paid staff, you get an executive director, you get they're going to need an assistant, you're going to have some other stuff smushed around. You very quickly can get to $100,000 of overhead.
Oh yeah.
So now, I mean, very quickly,
Yeah.
once you go that level, and you can get up to $500,000 overhead really quickly. But you know, if you're going to be a responsible nonprofit, just say with 100 grand of overhead, you got to be raising 500,000 a year now, and now you got to be putting out 400,000 in programs.
Yeah.
So now you're going to need a program director, and your executive director is spending pretty much all their time fundraising
Yeah.
and promoting the organization rather than necessarily promoting the artists or the vets or whoever the beneficiaries are.
Yeah.
So you gotta get over that big speed bump, and then all of a sudden you're just a big ass organization, you know. Um, Whereas, again, I apologize if we can't support all the artists we'd like to, but because I'm one of our donors and a bunch of my friends are donors, I can look them in the eye and go, you know, 95 cents of every dollar is going to, you know, to veterans. I mean,
Yeah.
like we're doing this all for love and all for respect of what these, you know, men and women did for their service.
Yep.
We're not getting paid. And like your organization, when you become a 501c3 or Hero Stock, you know, some of the best work being done out there are being done by these small nonprofits
I,
that it's just someone's got a passion and they want to help someone, and it's one person at a time. And if you can impact one person's life, or obviously we talk about veteran suicide, but if you provide an opportunity to save one veteran's life, or one person's life, veteran, but you know, how freaking cool is that? I mean, like,
yeah,
what else are you going to do? What are you going to do today that's more important than that?
yeah,
So,
absolutely. Hey, so Eric was asking a couple questions here, or no, Brian Roof was. One of the
sure.
questions he had was, how many veterans are you guys up to? I think you said 48.
No, we get sorry, I'm pouring myself some more bourbon. We get about 40 to 50 applicants a year. Um, we're up to 28 who have
28.
been
Okay.
accepted. And in fairness, their activity levels are on a curve also. And some of it ebbs and flows a little bit. I mean, we have one, Teresa Bowman, who's really talented, Air Force, um, uh, air battle manager. Um, but she just had a baby, and so she's like probably not going to get on a plane and fly off to a gig this year, right?
Right.
But that's okay. Um, and the ones we just brought in, so far this year, Derek Stoner, who is 20-year Green Beret in Nashville, that's his job. And then Kate and Cecily Anderson out of Manhattan Beach, California, that's their job. I mean, they're pursuing it every day.
Yeah.
So but anyway, I mean, that was a long answer to your question.
And then one other question he had was, are you guys planning to expanding? So that bump that you guys, that speed bump you was talking about, is that the big time goal to grow to the point where you need the paid staff, or are you guys planning on still staying the smaller, like we said, the boots on ground is what I refer to them as.
Um, the honest answer is I don't know. Um, um, to get to that next level, you really need some larger grants. And we messed around. We pursued the grant writing for a while.
Hmm.
It's a hell of a lot of work and filling out forms and bureaucracy and ass kissing and all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. Um, I personally don't want to be in that business.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, it's just I'm not. I just don't have the patience. Um, I mean, selfishly, I get more enjoyment working directly with the vets.
Yep.
I'm on the phone. I'm on the phone with them all the time. I'm talking about, hey, are you available to, go up and do this gig and in Maine, at War Dogs, which is another nonprofit, and they're and so calling around um, and some of them call me up with their problems and their issues, and I love that part of the job, but
Yeah.
sitting around doing grants. I mean, the other thing is, okay, you're going to go hire that team, call it for $100,000. Before you bring them on staff, you probably need a couple 3 years in the bank.
Yeah.
So if anybody out there wants to write us a check for three, four, $500,000, we'll scale tomorrow. Um, but I've yet to find now. By the way, I mean, I told you we partner with Camp Southern Ground, which is Zach Brown's thing. Great story, but he went to summer camp as a kid, and he might even tell you he had a bit of a troubled youth, but he learned to play guitar at summer camp. And the way the legend goes, at age 14, he wrote in his diary, "When I get older, I want to be successful and start a summer camp for kids." And so then he becomes Zach Brown, and he decides he's going to do this. So I think he wrote like I think he went in like 5 million for the first 5 million, and then just because he's in Georgia and kind of a big deal, um, was able to get like the founders of Home Depot and Bunch. But he raised
Yeah.
like $43 million for an endowment to start this thing. It's like, damn
Wow.
boy, you
Yeah.
know, good for you, good for you. that's why we should be partners. But again, if there's anybody out there who's got $43 million and want to endow Operation Encore, hell, we'll even merge with you, and we'll, we'll we'll put Gunroom Radio on the map. We just need that one big donor. Anyway, that was a long answer to the question.
Yeah, man. That would be that would be another reason to break open another bottle of Four Roses, huh?
I would buy you a whole if this podcast brings in that donor, I'll buy you a whole case of Four Roses. How about that?
Absolutely. So, let me ask you this. How does the application process work for artists? Do they do that through your website, or is there a different way?
Yeah, you go to the operationencore.org website. There's a toggle up there for join us, and it brings you to a page. We do it once a year. This year we closed applications at the end of May.
Mm-hmm.
And you do have to fill out not only what is your military service, but we want you to submit a demo, artist website, Spotify channel if you have it, YouTube channel if you have it, all that kind of stuff. If you don't, it's not a disqualifier. We're really looking for the talent and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But you can also get a sense for someone's commitment to the profession,
Yeah.
or whether it's whether it's really a hobby or it's a business. So the more professional you look on the application, it just helps. But I mean, I'm a songwriter. I mean, the other guys on our committee are songwriters. So a really good song, on an Apple phone, still can. I mean, like if it's that song, you
Yeah.
just go, okay, that's someone I want to learn more about. But anyway, we review. We have a committee of 5 of us. Everybody, we review all the applications. We review everything that's sent in. We'll narrow it down to 5 or so that we want to interview, and then we'll do Zoom interviews, and just and to be honest, it's kind of a two-way interview. We'll tell you about what we do, and you tell us about what you do, and see if we want to roll together. So I mean, I will say that as we've grown and frankly getting more awareness through the veteran artist community about Operation Encore, and people like Scotty and Shannon and JB and all these guys out there saying, hey, these guys are cool. We're getting more applications, and we're frankly getting, I want to say higher quality, but we're getting, there's good talent out there.
There is.
And we're just sad we can't work with all of them. But
Yeah.
again, we do what we can do.
So Brian was asking how many volunteers you guys have, and I'm going to add to that. Is there a process? If somebody wanted to volunteer to help, if they wanted to be a part of this, is there something that they can do to apply or see if there's a way they can help you?
Yeah, I mean, being an all volunteer organization, we accept volunteers.
Yeah.
So just be careful what you volunteer for. But yeah. So we have the board, which is 5 of us, and then we have an advisory board. So like the lawyer who helped take us through the 501c3 process pro bono, he's now on our. By the way, you should look into that. You don't need to pay for a lawyer. I mean, there are law firms that do pro bono work, and
Okay.
you should just find one and ask them. But we found one who and filed the paperwork for it. So that guy's on our advisory board. Lucas Hogue, who is a Nashville guy, professional artist. I mean, he's been there and has been a good mentor. He's on our advisory board. He just took Tyree Woods, who's one of our artists, to a songwriting festival that he sponsored in Belize. So Actually, we paid his travel, but all expenses once you get there to hang out on the beach in Belize for 5 days with a bunch of
Wow.
Nashville songwriters and play music, and it was really cool. Um, but then we have other just, I'll say, events or something that we'll accept we need help with. And I mean, I don't know what that is right now, but it depends on what city someone's in.
Hmm.
But I mean, we're always scratching around for resources,
Yeah.
wherever we can. Anyway, a long story short, guy at operation.org. If somebody is out there and has an idea and wants to help, and I don't know if we have something for you to do, but we'll give you a response.
Yeah. Yeah. And I can vouch for that because, all of the Gunroom Radio started from an email to you. Scotty gave me your information, and I reached out to you, and it just became a series of conversation after that. And yeah, so they will reach back out, and they'll help you if they can.
So we're responsible for you. I feel like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
All right. So bring up a good point. You said you need like $500 more to get the next level of licensing and all that.
Yeah.
All right. I'll commit to you now. I'll propose to the Operation Encore board that we sponsor you for $500 if you make Operation Encore an official sponsor of Gunroom Radio, because you do great work. I mean, getting all of our guys on there and streaming them out there. I think it's a great platform. So I will, if you would accept an Operation Encore sponsorship, I'll go to the board and see if we can get you $500.
I would absolutely do that.
All right, we'll see if we can get that done.
That would be awesome. Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
you got to put our logo there somewhere though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we'll even throw a good commercial better than the Gunroom Radio commercial I got for the pre
No. I mean, to be honest, it's really one of the good things about paid staff and having to do a lot of fundraising is we don't have to really promote Operation Encore. I just love that you're promoting our artists, and so it's really in recognition of that. I mean, it's giving them a platform that, whether it's other veterans around the country or you know people around the world, can listen to their music. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, I agree, man. And this came from, like I said, Scotty was the first artist that came on my show. The Contagion Effect is the one that told me about him. And then it just spread from there as, artist after artist. And at that time, I still didn't really know about Operation Encore, but I seen the same problems, and we were talking about people that were trying to do this as a career, meaning pay bills and raise a family and all those types of things too. For me, the algorithms for Spotify and all that it didn't matter to me because I didn't care if it was one person or 10,000 people that watched the show. This was about me talking to people and just having a good time. But when I brought them on and I seen, how I know how the rhythms will eat you up. If you're not a success in that first week or so, they quit putting you on the front of their website and putting you and promoting
Yeah.
you, you know. And so that's where the idea came from, was to give them a platform that there is no algorithms, you're played, everybody's played. They're all in a rotation, and the computer figures out what rotation to put them in, and doesn't repeat the same song twice. So everybody gets played, you know. And then, of course, we do Veteran Hour that, because of all the help you gave me, I wanted to contribute just to Operation Encore artists. And I'm about to take that to the next step too. I want to get to the point where I'm doing one artist and we're focusing on their music career. The podcast
Hmm.
talk to them about their military side, but I want to focus now on their military career or their music career, and have them um, call in versus an online show, and actually do it over the air with the radio. So,
Hmm.
and then focus on one artist at a time and go through the list of Operation Encores for Veteran Hour, and play a few of their songs, talk about their thought process when they wrote the song, and all those types of things too. So there's that show is going to be there for as long as Gunroom Radio is there, and it'll always be adding new people and going back to the old people and reliving them and once you're in the alumni, you're there. You got the secret ring.
There you go. There you go.
So, but yeah, man, and I'm gonna be honest, I wasn't a musical kind of guy. Um, Unlike yourself, that has a YouTube channel. Tell everybody a little bit about your YouTube channel, man.
Oh crap. So I write songs, I play music. When COVID hit, we were all, and I live in California, so when I say we were all locked down, we were locked down.
Yeah,
If you're in Texas and Florida, it was like, yeah, okay, we're kind of locked down, but we're not. I mean, it was bad here. But anyway, had a lot of free time on my hands. And I got this idea early on, like, oh, I'll just write a song a week, kind of whatever's going on musically or kind of my mind that week. And then I'll just do a couch concert, which was as technical as not even as technical as this. It was me with my iPad and on a couch,
yeah,
and sometimes I get a beer. But and the early ones I would it'd be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm doing this week. This is what the song's about. Hope you're having a great week. They were pretty rough, but I put them out there. And by the way, I'm not personally a big social media guy. I don't have. You're not gonna find me on Facebook. You're not gonna find me on LinkedIn. All that kind of stuff. So I mean, I would just email it to like 100 family and friends as a way to keep in touch.
yeah,
Here's kind of my week, and if you like music, kind of here's a gift. And it'd be cool. I'd get sometimes 10, sometimes 20 emails back, like, hey, yeah, this is what I'm doing this week, or some of them, one of the joys of making music is sometimes you get an email back that says, hey, I was having a really shitty day, and that was a cool song, and it gave me
yeah,
3 minutes and 7 seconds of joy. Thank you very much. And you were talking about this before, whether it's one person or 10,000 in a stadium, you get one person said, "Oh man, I really like that song." It's like, oh crap, I got to do another one next week. So, and I originally thought, how long can this whole pandemic thing last? So I committed myself, I'm going to do one a week. And like the first month, I got my first 4 out. And I'm like, I'm rolling. And I got up to like 40. And I'm like, oh man, this is getting to be like a job. But then somebody else would email me back and say, oh, I really love that song. And like, thank you for giving me joy. I had a shitty week. I'd be like, oh man, I have an audience. And so then I got closer to 52 weeks. I'm like, well, I mean, I got to finish the year. Anyway, long story short, I just put out number 71 last week. And when the lockdown sort of subsided a bunch, I mean, myself and everybody else, we had a lot more things to do than a song every week. So I started going more into studio, got a little more professional how I record, and started bringing in, frankly, other artists and players that I work with and session guys, and like, hey, come on in, sit on the couch, let's play. And so now I do one every month. But it's and I still just send it to you and Matt,
yeah.
probably 150 people.
I love it, man. I watch it too. Yeah, I love it.
That's fun. Anyway, if anybody wants to watch any of them, it's Yahoo. Oh no, I'm sorry. YouTube. It's I think if you try Buckeye Road Music or Couch Concert series, I think you can get it.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. I think that is what it is. Yep. If not,
Start with the most recent ones though. They're the better ones. You go to the first ones. It's just me screwing around on a couch with a guitar. But
the if anybody doesn't know, you can reach out to me. I can get you the link and show you where they're at because they are good. Scott or Shannon is the one that told me. He said, "Man," and I was in our podcast when we was talking. He talked about you and your ability to play guitar. He really talked you up about how good you were.
he's yeah, he's a good guy.
He
He
is,
is a
man.
good guy. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, every chance I get, dude, my favorite song, Dear Mom is a great song. But the song that he sings that really resonated to me was Not Alone. I love
Yep.
it, man. I love that song.
Yep.
I play it every time I'm live. As a matter of fact, Brian Roof, the guy that's been asking you all the questions,
Mhm.
he is our first actual DJ. He's in California as well, and he has a show on from noon Central to 3 p.m. Central on Monday and Wednesday called Chow Time with Brian, and
Mhm.
same thing. And yeah, that's the only catch that I have. I tell everybody, if you want to be a DJ, the show is yours. You can use all your creativity, but you have to play the music that's on the station. That's the only, I don't want it to be a talk show, and we're not talking about artists anymore. You're a DJ playing music. Other than
And
that,
do they do that live or is that pre-recorded and
no,
you
it's
drop
live.
it?
It's
Okay.
live. Yep. So he's on from noon to 3, and man, he is so funny, man. He's a Marine, and like everything he relates to eating crowns, and what's in his sack is a box of 64, and you know he's a great guy, man. He's put a lot of work into to helping us. He has a podcast called Every Day is a Saturday, and yeah, man, he
Cool.
wanted to be a part of it. He liked what we were doing and wanted to be a part of it, and it took some work, and we finally got it figured out how other people can log on and have access to their show. So that's the plan, is to get more in other places, and have I guess call them chapters.
There you go. There you
So,
go.
but I appreciate, man, everything that you guys are doing. I follow the website. I go back and I reread some of the EPKs and everything from all the artists that's on there,
Yeah.
especially ones I plan on talking about for that week's episodes for Veteran Hour. And man, I love it. You know, you've had two new ones here recently. They're called Winter's Grain, um,
Wintergrain. Yeah. Yeah.
Winter Grain, and
Yeah.
then Souls Worn Thin. They're the two
Yep.
newer ones, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, actually, Souls Worn Thin is Stephen Wayne or Stephen Wayne Pate. He's been one of our artists for several years, but
Okay.
it's interesting. We actually just released our podcast interview with him and got to visit with him a bit, but he is an interesting guy. But he applied, with his sort of solo singer songwriter sort of project,
Mm-hmm.
and you played his song Sideways, originally, which was one of those great songs. We went,
Yeah.
this guy has talent, not knowing they had a separate project, Souls Worn Thin, which is a punk rock band. And so he came on, into the group, and then we didn't hear a lot from him for a while because he was working on his punk stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and and separately, I mean, we have a lot of, it's not going to shock you, but we have a lot of country and country rock and
Yeah.
blues and Americana kind of stuff, and we've been trying to expand genre a little bit, and would have loved to bring him on as a punk rocker, but we didn't even like. We had one, we just didn't know it, and
Yeah.
so I was talking to him, I don't know, a year ago, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we're trying to produce this punk rock or Souls Worn Thin album, and we're scraping together the money." I was like, "What's it going to cost to get you over the line?" He's like, "X." I said, "Well, why didn't you ask for it?" And like he's like, "Well, you would do that for my punk stuff?" I was like, "Yeah." Um, so he's sort of reconnected, I guess, a little bit with us, or we just learned about his other project and have been supporting that. But Winter Grain is Kate and Cecily Anderson, who
Yep.
you will, if you interview them, you will enjoy them. Um,
I've been trying to get with, man. They've been busy. When I was first reached out to them, they were doing that concert, women's something there in Oakland,
at
and
Oakland Alameda, yeah,
yep. And so they were real busy, and I didn't know it, but when I was trying to talk to them, they were just invited to an after party, so they were in the middle of that too. So we haven't got the date, but yeah, they're going to come on the show, and So is Steven. He's going to come on the show too. And
Great.
I also seen, I don't know where it went to, but I seen it on Facebook. The Veteran Hour that I was promoting their album,
Hmm.
Hero Stock and Steven talking. They connected and the conversation went off Facebook, but I'm pretty sure I have an idea what that was about.
Yeah, yeah, they're good. I mean,
They are, man.
yeah. I describe Souls Worn Thin as sort of post-blondie skater punk meets Yellow Card. I mean, it's it's got some cool, but some of the songs. I don't know if you're ever listened to Yellow Card, but I mean, some of the songs just remind me of Yellow Card, Ocean Avenue, if anybody's a fan of
Hmm.
them.
Yep.
Um, but it's it's cool, and the fun thing was talking to him on our podcast. He served 20 years in the army, so he's call it 40 something. He has
Yeah.
23 and 25-year-old daughters that come to his live concerts.
Yeah.
I was like, how cool is that?
That is, man.
You got grown ass daughters that that can drink legally, that like oh, dad's gonna be out there shredding it. We gotta go listen to him go bang out there.
Standing in the front row there, somebody goes, "Man, they're good." Yeah,
Yeah,
it's my dad.
yeah, yeah. And he'll be like, backstage, he'll be like, oh, Steven's got these hot groupies. Like, no, those are my freaking daughters. Leave your hands off.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, man. But yeah, they are good, man. I, I didn't find a bad song on that whole album. You know,
No,
I listened to the whole album before Veteran Hour, and then listened to the whole thing again, going through it on Veteran Hour, and man, I loved it. I did, man.
yeah. For those who are out there, it's Souls Worn Thin. The new album's called Treason, and I would recommend like put it on some headphones when you go do a workout. I mean,
Yeah.
it's it's high energy music, and you'll be like pumping the shit out of stuff.
Yep.
Um, it's good for that. It's good for that. And then Kate and Cecily, a little more pop, you know,
Hmm.
Indigo Girls pop, kind of a little bit more pop stuff, but fun stuff. And Kate has a wonderful voice, and Cecily, she actually shreds guitar. If you watch or listen to her guitar work, she is a legit guitar player,
Wow.
legit. Yeah. And Kate flew helicopters for the Army,
Yep.
20 years. I think she's technically still active duty, but not active. I mean, I think her paperwork's all been filed, and they've just been saying, we'll kind of get to it. I mean, I think she's turned in all of her uniform and everything, but
Yeah.
for some reason she's, I don't know. Maybe I think we need to go blow up Ukraine someday. They might want to call her back, but I don't know.
Yeah, I was talking to her about that, and me and her had a lot of the same issues as we were trying to retire. Uh, stupidity is all it was. She had issues with her award, and that held me back too because I had a warrant officer. I asked him. I said, "Do you want to write my award, or do you want me to do it?" And he said, "Well, you just do it." So I just put myself in for a low award that only required the battalion commander's signature. So I didn't have to wait forever for a piece of paper just
Yeah,
so I could get my orders. And I don't know, it was about a month or two before I was supposed to get my orders and actually get out. The brigade sergeant major calls me up there and wanted to know why I was only getting an RCOM. And I said, because it only takes the battalion commander's signature. And he goes, we're not giving out RCOMs for 20 years of service, so he made me rewrite it as an MSM, and that delayed a little bit because it had to go all the way to the garrison commander to get signatures. And she was in that same boat. She tried to do the exact same thing. So I thought that was kind of funny that we both tried to take the shortcut out of it and it didn't work for us. But
you just get your hooks in you.
yep. Yeah, man. And I can't wait to get her on, and because she seemed pretty passionate about the aviation world. She seemed like she loved it, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
looking forward to talking to her about that. And me and Steven had the same MOS. We were both mechanics, so I can't wait to get him on and talk shop about that too.
yeah. Um, yeah, he. mechanic, although 5 years deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, and it sounds like he spent a fair amount of time outside the wire in convoys and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Getting blown up 6 times. I
Yeah.
guess that'll do it to you. But
I was real fortunate, man. I didn't. I was in convoys, but didn't actually get hit. I was in the back driving the wrecker, and the front of the convoys would get hit. Or the
yeah,
towards the middle. So, I was real fortunate about that. So when I heard that, I said, "Man, 6 damn times! Holy crap!"
yeah. Well, I was talking to him. He actually described this as well. I had 13 like IED experiences. They use some word like that, and I got blown up 6 times. I go, well, like, what's the difference between an IED experience and getting blown up? He says, well, I mean, IED experiences where like something goes off, but your rig still runs. Getting
Yeah.
blown up is when your rig. He says, I'm a mechanic. I define when my rig won't run anymore. I've been blown up. He says
Yep.
that's. I said, like, blown up, blown up. He goes, yeah, or sometimes it's like knocked over on its side. I call that blown up. I'm like, yeah, that kind of sounds like blown up. He's like, yeah, if we have to bring the wrecker out and right my rig, I call that a legitimate blown up. Like, all
Yeah.
right, yeah, okay.
Yeah, man. A lot of people don't understand that. We got used and abused, man. We were mechanics, and most of us just loved to tinker and work on shit like that. And as the war went on, they were trying to figure out ways to reduce the convoy sizes. So they started using mechanics and support elements as security forces. And the rumor has it that ain't our shit. We're not trained for that. you know. So it caused there was if you do the numbers, there was more combat support casualties
hmm
in the two wars than your combat elements, and that was the reason why is they would have us going out there and helping clear towns and
Yep.
areas that were not big. They weren't looking for some top guy. We were just going through clearing, but they were using combat support element type people. And you would get 3 or 4 months of training before the deployment. And I'm sure Stephen will be able to tell you before that deployment, man, you're working nonstop trying to get the equipment ready to go. And then they pull you out 2 or 3 months before you actually leave and say, okay, now you're going to start training to be a gun truck, and now you're going out on convoys. You're not working on shit anymore. And you only get 2 months of infantry experience, unlike the infantry guys that do it every day,
Yeah. Well, I
So,
mean, I was talking to Steven. He was telling the story. I mean, he actually enlisted prior to 9/11.
mhm.
So and I don't know where your timing was, but he says his conversation with the Army recruiter was, yeah, a mechanic. That'll be a skill. Like, I'll go do 4 years and, hang out and I'll have a skill. I can go and get a job. Oh, yes, you can get a job, son.
Yep.
And he's thinking, all right, I'll, sit in Washington State and tinker around and, go get a job as a mechanic later, get trained, get a skill. And then he said, we're sitting around and, Sergeant says, 9/11 happened. Sergeant's like, get in front of the TV, all you guys. Like this shit's real, And all
Yep.
of a sudden, they watched it and then he's like, life changed.
Yeah.
Life changed.
He's right. I came in 94, and when I came in, I wanted to be a ranger. That's what I wanted to do. And my dad actually was the one that talked me out of it. And that same exact reason. He said, what are you going to do when you come back as a ranger? You're going to go to Walmart and just put a bunch of shit on your back and walk around? He said, you need to do something that you're going to have a skill that relates when you get out. So I came in as a mechanic, same concept, and I don't regret it. I don't. I'm now a general supervisor in a maintenance field for a lead facility. So I mean,
hmm
it works, So I don't
Yeah.
regret it. But
Speaking of Rangers, and are you interviewing Derek Stoner?
I am August 6th, I think is the date.
Yeah. Good for you.
Brian Roof is a huge Derek Stoner fan. I already pre-warned him. I told him, I said, I'm just going to let you know there's going to be a guy that's going to be in the crowd. I said, he is a groupie. I said he has his own show, but we should just call it the Derek Stoner channel because there's a lot of Derek Stoner played.
No, that's great. Yeah, Derek, again, Green Beret, 20 years, retired, living in Nashville. He's actually in the studio. He was in the studio last week. Um, we're helping him with a couple, three songs he's doing with Purple Mountain Studios. But he has some new music. He's there we go. Hell yeah, I love me some Derek Stoner. But no, he's got a couple. He's got some new music that he's going to be coming out with. So talking about that,
Okay, absolutely, man.
some good stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
At some point, I'll have to get Scotty back on there too because I know he's grinding as well. You know, he keeps teasing. You know, he throws a lot of little video clips out there teasing about it. But at some
He
point,
has
man,
some. He has some good material. He's got some. He's got some great material that he's just kind of working through the channel and trying to figure out the strategy to launch him. But I think he'll have a couple singles out. I'm sure towards the end of the summer, or maybe September-ish. So.
a lot of people just don't understand how much work goes into it. I mean, they really don't. I didn't know until the video you guys did with Shannon Book. When he actually broke it down to me how many times he had to lip sync that song, for just certain cuts. He said we were down there filming for 2 weeks, so yeah, there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of behind the scenes stuff that a lot of people just don't think of, because it's a 2-minute video, and that's the way a lot of people look at it. But yeah, there is a lot of work that goes behind it, and just recording music, the editing process, I'm sure is huge. I edit my own stuff, but it's nothing like what you're talking about for a professional song.
Yeah, and when you get to that level too, I mean, you're getting down to like words and notes and stuff
Yep.
like that. Where I mean, a good producer will sweat you, because you want everything to be perfect and perfect to that ear, that sort of golden ear that some of these guys supposedly have. But I mean, it's not just like you go sing the song like in the old days,
Yeah.
like with the Beatles and stuff like that. I mean, it's okay, the second line of the third chorus, do it again, do it again, nope,
Yeah.
and like drink some water, do it again, and until we get it right. Now, on the other hand, Andrew Wiscombe, who I think is another one of our guys who's
Yep.
More of Americana. He's the cheapest guy to record. He's like the one. He's like the one take guy. I mean,
Really?
yeah, he just a little bit of his style because it's going to be kind of more of a rough back porch sort of a style music
Mm-hmm.
anyway. It's a more Americana, so it's not like it's not like you know pop or hip hop or something like that where you're going to really highly produce it. But he'll come in. We record with him sometimes, and I'm a little bit exaggerating, but maybe 2 takes. Um, and he sings the whole song through. We're like, yeah, we'll take the second one versus the first one, but it's not like let's punch in that word or
Right.
that note or something like that. He just sits down with his guitar and you're like, I love that.
Yeah. I love that song, "Working Man's Mile." I play that
Yeah,
too. I love that song, man.
yeah,
It is, it is good, man. He's another one. I've reached out to, and we just haven't set a date, man. But he doesn't respond a whole lot. Sometimes I'll get 1 or 2 words back, but
yeah. He's somewhat a man of few words. I guess that comes from being a sniper.
yeah. And
Just
I
be
tell people that
silent.
too. I'm like, listen to this song, and then they'll listen to him sing, and I'll go, oh, and by the way, he was a sniper. You would not picture that voice and him singing in the songs in the genre that he sings as a guy that is shooting people from miles away. So
Yeah,
yeah.
and I've been told he was pretty good at his job.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sure. I'm sure.
yeah, but yeah, he was grew up a mountain boy.
Yeah.
Sort of the Wasatch Mountains, I mean, outside of Salt Lake City. You know, just on a farm. I think his dad used to do uh, guide people hunting mountain lions.
Okay,
It's like the
that would
real
be
shit.
cool.
That, you know, the real shit. And so he knew how to use a gun before he enlisted. We'll just say.
Yeah,
Um, I think he only got better, but he, you know, just a down to earth guy, not pretentious. You know, just even keeled, salt of the earth.
yeah,
Um, you know, I keep rambling on about, you know, these artists I work with. Obviously, that's why I like being with them, but also as a non-military veteran, you know, it just being able to get to know these guys and hear their stories
yeah,
and the character that they have. I mean, I don't want to sound hokey, but it continually renews my faith in the future of this country, knowing that there are people like y'all, I'll say, um, out there who were willing to sacrifice and serve their country and put their lives at risk, but also work damn hard for something bigger than themselves.
yeah.
Um, and you know, you don't see that every day in society. Um,
Yep.
and the other thing is, you know, in the music business, you know, there's just a hell of a lot of self promotion and my personal brand and my TikTok channel, all that shit. And you know, one of the big issues we have with a lot of these guys is they're not natural self promoters.
Right.
Um, you know, I'll my observation is the longer they've been in the military, a lot of times the less self promoter they are because I I believe that it gets beaten out of you a little bit over time. Like, you know,
It,
if
it
someone's all
does.
about themselves, they get the shit kicked out of them early.
Well, and just like you were talking about earlier, you know, the how close that some of these guys talked about suicide and stuff like that. You know, it's not uncommon. It happened to me when you first get out of the military and you start getting into that dark area. The first thing you do is you isolate yourself. So
Hmm.
it feels awkward, and even with the podcast and everything else, I still struggle trying to ask people for help and ask for things and stuff like that because I'm just now getting here, you know, to where
Hmm.
I'm level, you know, and the VA has helped me out quite a bit. I know a lot of people talk shit about the VA, but I've been lucky.
Hmm.
The therapist I went through did good stuff, and so I kind of get that hard promotion, you know, hard to talk and brag about yourself. I mean, hell, even a lot of soldiers, when people come up and say thank you to us, it feels awkward, you know.
Hmm.
And so I think those two things would probably go hand in hand. You know, now you got to promote yourself and talk about yourself and interact with people and you know, and it's a whole different environment.
Yeah, um, it is. I can imagine. You know, one of the other things I've observed though is for some of these guys who are a little bit quieter in a shell, you know, and maybe they're dealing with demons, maybe they're not, but they can get up on stage with a guitar on
Hmm.
and pour their soul out, and it's almost like this acoustic guitar in front of their chest is like body armor.
Yeah.
I mean, it is weird. I mean, Stephen Covell's one of those guys, you know, that doesn't doesn't like talking. I mean, he doesn't like being quote unquote being the center of attention unless he's
Hmm.
playing music. But I mean, you know, he's not the big voice in the party. He's not, you know, he's more of those quiet guys who's going to be sitting off to the side, maybe talking to one person, having a real conversation rather than cocktail chat
Yeah.
and all stuff. But he'll get up in front of 1,000 people with guitar, you know, and sing "Her Cold Hands," which is about his personal struggles with suicide. You know, and
Yeah.
that crap, I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm probably a little more outgoing than he is, you know, and naturally, but you know, it's great, and and you know, it's and he'll look at it as singing that song. I think in his mind is a service to others. He's hoping that it helps others, not it's about him. So when
Yeah.
he's up there doing it, it's he's not focused on this is about me and I should be nervous. It's about who out there can I connect with. I
Yeah.
have I have the obligation to 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 share this with them and hopefully connect with one person out there, and give them some comfort knowing that they're not alone. To use
Yeah.
Shannon's line. So anyway,
Yep.
it's cool. Hey, I also want to mention another organization that you might want to look into: Soldier Songs and Voices. I don't know if you've connected with
Okay.
them.
I have not. I have not heard of them.
So they're out of Austin, Texas. Dustin Welch, I think, founded it. There's one by the name of Phoebe Hunt, and her sister Stephanie Hunt work with it a bunch. So they are more on the music therapy side. Um, they bring in people who want to write a song, want to share a song, um, that are maybe not professional, that maybe don't play in front of people,
Hmm.
um, and it's more geared to that music therapy thing. Not to say they don't have some great musicians who come through there. Actually, Barbara Sim came through that program.
Okay.
That's how we got introduced to her. And John Standen Evans, who I don't know if you played his music yet, but he's one of our artists in Colorado, and they both went through that program.
What
Um,
was his name?
John Evans, his middle name is Standen,
No,
S
I
T
don't
A
think he is
E.
on the radio.
Um, Actually, you know what? He's not, because he's just recording his first
Oh, okay.
album.
Okay.
So he's not out there yet on Spotify, but we'll get him out there by the end of the year. Um,
Okay.
but the organization does good work. And they set up local or like regional groups. So
Hmm.
there'll be a group in Denver, a group in somewhere in Arkansas, that will get together, whether it's once a month, and maybe it's 6 vets or 10 vets, and bring their guitars and share their songs.
Okay.
And then they do an annual thing at a guy by the name of Tom McDonough's ranch outside of Austin called, what's it called? TR Ranches, I think it is. But anyway, it's where the Texas Fiddler Festival is held, and
Okay.
they'll bring everybody in and play music and do all that. Anyway, they're doing good work. But again, more of that, if there's people listening to your podcast like, I'm really not trying to become a big star. I just want to share this music, or I want to learn how to write a little bit better, or I just got a bunch of shit on my mind I got to get out, and I want to
Hmm.
do it through music. They're a good organization.
Okay. I think I know a guy that I might recommend this to. Um,
Um,
he does play a little bit on our station, and he's now opened up and he's playing on Facebook, and he started his own little music channel. But that's exactly what it is. He's writing songs from his heart and playing songs about his feelings. He's not trying to be a music star or anything. And so I think that might be something he needs to look into because he really loves writing music, man.
yeah, and check it out, Soldier Songs and Voices. If you can't get a hold of them, either you or someone contact me, and I'll put you directly in touch with Dustin or Phoebe.
Okay.
I'll also throw out there that they, just by chance, they seem to have a lot more Vietnam vet era,
Hmm.
guys who, again, I mean, they're in their whatever late 60s, so they're not like, oh, I'm going to go, do a road show and get out there and tour and all that. They're like, no, I'm I still have stuff I'm dealing with, and I want to put it in a song, or I did put it in a song, and I want to share it.
Yeah.
Or this is about my buddy who died. I mean, those emotional impacts, as you probably know, they don't go away 45 years later, whatever it is. They're still there.
I've been trying for the longest time to get somebody that was in the Vietnam era war to come on the show. And
Mhm.
I didn't want to talk about events. You know, I wanted to talk about the training tactics that we used back then compared to now, uh, things that we encountered with the enemies, to compare the differences because it comes up on our show quite a bit. People ask, about, um, my uncle was a Vietnam guy. He won't talk about anything, but all you current veterans, man, you're open and you want to talk about everything. And I still feel like the reason for that is because they didn't have a country to come home to that
Hmm.
welcomed them. That's
Hmm.
the big difference. They came back and they were spit on, called names, and why would you open up yourself to just have that done to you?
Yeah.
It was a different atmosphere for us. We didn't have to encounter that. So I do think that's
Well,
the reason why a lot of them don't talk. You know.
I, I I definitely believe that's part of it. I think also, you know, um, today's generation through social media and everything is much less or much more put their stuff out there, much less concerned about privacy.
Hmm.
I mean, people put shit out on Facebook about themselves that my generation would never
Yeah.
think. Again, I'm not on Facebook, but I hear about friends and stuff like, oh, they talk about their psychological issues and stuff like that just on their Facebook channel.
Yeah.
It's like, or put out there, my daughter's thinking about transitioning her sex. Like, I mean, God bless her. If she's, I'm not judging that. I'm judging putting that on Facebook.
Yeah. What
Like,
media are you using to talk about it? Yeah.
it's like, anyway, the guys I know who were Vietnam era, they just didn't grow up that way.
Yeah.
And as you probably know, the outlet was when you went down to the VFW and you had a couple beers, and
Yep.
that was your tribe. I mean, you didn't post it for the world to see.
And you didn't hear the conversations didn't talk about it back then there either. I mean they talked, but they didn't, you know, I've never encountered two Vietnam era guys. They might tell some funny stories, but I've never seen them get intimate about problems or things that was bothering them. At least not there. They might away from there privately. But
Yeah.
yeah, like you said, they didn't put it in the public, you know. And it's unfortunate because the other thing I like about um, the internet, I'm like you. I don't put a lot of my business out there. If it wasn't for the podcast and the radio station and that type of stuff, I probably wouldn't even get on social media. It's not my
Hmm.
thing either. And but the thing I do like about it is as society has changed and we're rewriting history books and teaching different stories. Shows like this will have their stories out. Once it's on the internet, it's there. It'll be somebody will find it at some point. But people come on these shows and talk about their stories. These are real live events that people lived. This ain't something that was taught in a history book. This is some guy on the ground telling what happened to him. And so that's one thing I do like about the podcast is we're kind of putting our footprint out there about our feelings of the war and what we encountered and the good, the bad, the funny, it's all out there. And I think, who knows, maybe 20 years down the road, um, somebody might see one of these shows and be like, holy crap, I read about that in the history books. This guy's talking about it. And I kind of hope that one day that's the outcome. I'm writing a book now about my encounters and things I did, but I'm writing it for my kids. I want my
Hmm.
kids to know what happened to me and why things were the way they were and why I was the guy I was and just an explanation that I've never gave them, verbally. So um, that's another thing that I'm working on. I'm about halfway done, but it's tough.
Well, your kids, and probably as important, if not more important, your grandkids, because your grandkids probably
Yeah.
won't get to know you you know,
Yeah.
as an adult, right? I mean, just
Yep.
the way the math works. But your kids will know you as an adult and maybe have some conversations with your grandkids. Probably, you know,
Yep.
not as much. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, being able to put that down on record and have them. I mean, I wish I had more, you know, conversations, knowledge of the thing with my grandfather, which he lived in New York and I grew up actually outside of St. Louis, um, Kirkwood, Missouri.
I know where Kirkwood is. Yeah, it's not too far from here.
Yeah, yeah. Um, until junior high, but anyway, so I didn't. I mean, I didn't get to see him much, probably a dozen times in my life. But I mean, I'd love to have a podcast. Somebody had interviewed him for an hour or
Yeah,
two and have him talk about, immigrating from Italy and working at a butcher shop
absolutely.
and coming over not speaking the language and just landed in Brooklyn, and I lived his whole life there. I mean, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Al Capone was in the neighborhood, and all that stuff. Oh
I
yeah,
bet he had some stories, man.
yeah. I mean, I remember talking to him once. He did tell me. He said, "Yeah, little Alfonso. We used to, make fun of him when we were kids."
Imagine that. Now we know
Not some,
why he was the way he was, because he was
yeah,
tormented as a kid.
yeah. They didn't make fun of him too much when he grew up, but
Absolutely
yeah,
not, man.
he was he was a kind of a funny kid. We made fun of him. So,
He just grew up to shoot people afterwards.
oh yeah, everybody has their faults.
Yeah, man. Oh, and that was a different era, man. I would love to sit down, and that's what I love about the podcast, man. Is just bring on people. I had it. There's a girl driving around the United States right now in a van called the Cannabus, or it's not a van, it's a bus. It's called the Cannabus, and
Sure.
it's like tie dyed and painted, and she's just going around trying to get it legalized for veterans for therapy for cannabis. So, man,
Hmm.
I reached out to her. I'm not personally, it's not my thing, but I had some people ask me about it. So I said, well, hell, come on the show. Let's talk about it. And she had a fascinating story, you
Hmm.
know? Yeah, so that's what I love about it, man. You just meet all sorts of people, and there's no agenda. It's just conversation. So,
Yeah, it's a the podcast format is great. And by the way, thank you to Joe Rogan for popularizing it
yeah,
and really
yeah,
giving it legitimacy. But just the format of, whether it's an hour or a couple hours, whatever, um, of, of being able to just talk
yep,
and cover subjects and in an adult conversation without, 20-second spin, like, okay, you're on whatever news channel,
yeah,
cable news, whatever, however you roll. But it's just like, okay, you got to say something that gets clicks and all that bullshit. I mean, I enjoy the format. I hope
I
the
do
people
too.
listening tonight enjoy it. But like with Rogan, I mean, it's he brings in obviously just a wide variety of
Yeah.
really cool people.
Yep,
Um,
I listen all the time, and as a matter of fact, a few things I've taken from him. I do all my titles similar to his because I love the way he does it. He just basically says, "This is who's on," and gives a little bit of quick spiel about who they were. There's no
mhm.
clickbait, no nothing trying to drive traffic. It's tonight I have so and so. He was an actor, comedy, comedian, podcast host, blah blah blah. That's the title, and
Yep.
and that's how I do mine too because I love that format.
Of course, if you have Elon Musk as your guest, you don't have to say a whole bunch. You're just like, we got Elon Musk.
Yep.
Click.
Yep.
Turn it on.
You are
So when
right,
you
man.
when you get Elon Musk on this channel, I'll be impressed, and B, I'll just on there and watch.
I'm gonna have to ask myself if Elon Musk has gotten to the point where he had to be on my show. Either I've gotten really big or he got really desperate. I don't know which it's gonna be. I would take either. But
I'd take either. You know, I mean, that'd be like if you're in a bar and the cutest girl in the bar comes up and hits on you. It's like, okay, you know,
yeah,
am I really
yeah,
that good or is she desperate? It don't
yeah. It
matter.
does. I mean, I'm good with either. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
if you don't even have to answer. We're good.
yeah, it's okay. It's
Yep,
okay.
I agree, man. Well, brother, this has been a great time, man. I loved our conversation. I've had down here operationencore.org. People can definitely come over. Whoever that one person is that's going to donate that $300,000 to 400,000, operationencore.org. There's a little button there. You may even reach out, and they might even give you a better way to do it than you know. That way, you won't got to pay the transaction fees and everything. But
We'll figure that out. Yeah, and I will talk to our board about becoming sponsors of Gunroom Radio. You're doing a great job, and
man, I appreciate that.
I know, look, I mean, I know coming from talking to our artists, they're like, "Oh, this is so freaking cool! I'm on a radio station." I mean, and like I know someone who like, "Hey, mom, look, I'm on the radio." Well, I mean, you got listeners, man, and
Yeah.
it's gonna grow. You got a great idea. It's gonna grow. Thank you for thank you for supporting our artists. Thanks for playing them, and uh, we're here to support you any way we can. And by the way, thank you for introducing me to some artists that I didn't know, um, which is cool.
Yeah.
And you know it. You just wait. Give it a couple years. You'll get traction. And I don't know whether this, you know, you'll have a radio hour on iHeartRadio, or you know, you'll have a channel. You're like, just like Jimmy Buffett, you'll have your own Sirius, you know, satellite radio channel. Uh,
Who knows, man? You know.
the sky's the limit, man. Sky's the
Yep.
limit. You're gonna make it happen.
I'm just on along for the ride, man, and wherever it takes me. You know.
All right. Well, keep riding.
I will, brother. And like I said, man, I appreciate it. I can't wait. There's good stuff coming. I know we've had some conversations about Missouri, man. I'm already excited. So
Yeah.
we're gonna make some big stuff happen, man. And I know you guys are behind the scenes just grinding. So it's awesome.
We do what we can. We do what we can.
Yes, sir, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. You be safe, and thanks for coming on, brother.
All right, you have a great rest of your Friday night and great weekend. And thanks for having us. And to everybody who's out there listening, make music. It's great. Or listen
Awesome,
to it.
man.
That's great too.
Awesome.
All right. You take